Trump has gotten so deranged and demented that he's now making major war threats while promoting his BS board of peace. Take a look.
The B-2 bombers are incredible. It carries very big bombs. And it went into Iran and it totally decimated the nuclear potential. And when it decimated that, all of a sudden we had peace in the Middle East because there was a black cloud hanging over the Middle East. And if that wasn't done, that cloud would have been there. And countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like Qatar, nobody could have signed. You would have had that threat. You couldn't have had peace in the Middle East. So now we may have to take it a step further or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
I have my own thoughts, but first, Trump may have some Nostradamus in him because this has never applied more.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective.
It feels like there's an old tweet or statement or comment about Obama that is applicable for just about everything Trump has done in both of his terms. It's really incredible. He is the king of projection. But Trump is definitely weak and ineffective. So there's a real concern that he may be correct there, especially when you learn that Jared Kushner is apparently a key figure in avoiding such a war. In his remarks, Trump noted that Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who is also Trump's son-in-law, had some very good meetings with Iran. It's proven to be over the years not easy to make a meaningful deal with Iran, he said. Otherwise, bad things happen. And I wonder why negotiations with Iran are so difficult for you. Could it be that Trump scrapped the Iran deal, reportedly just to spite Obama? Trump has already sailed 2 aircraft carriers into the region. Fighter jets have since been deployed as well in advance of potential strikes. One official said that by this weekend, there would be enough firepower in the region to conduct such an assault. There is already some bipartisan opposition forming that we'll turn to. But first, I'd like to discuss Trump's threat and the situation in the region. Yaz, what do you make of this?
First, I like peace in the Middle East is dumb, like they say it because it rhymes and they've been saying it for years, because like they're never going to have peace in the Middle East until they actually do something to promote peace in the Middle East. And they don't want to do that because too many people make too much money off of the instability in the Middle East, including many United States corporations and also government officials, et cetera. And so then they're like, we'll just send Jared Kushner over there. But I'm not gonna argue that Trump is not an ineffectual and weak president, right? I will say he is that 100 times over, but also he's seeing the writing on the wall. He's seeing how unpopular he is. He's seeing that things are not getting better for him. He's seeing that he can't trick his constituents or his voters or his MAGA base into believing that he's actually a good president for them, even though he's not doing anything to prove that he is actually being good to them. So what's he gonna do instead? I'll just start a war, because everyone is always going to support a wartime president. However, Trump already did kind of try to start things with other countries, just in this 1-year term that he's done so far. I'm not even talking about his first term, but he's already done so much damage in South America. He's been threatening allies like Greenland and by extension, Denmark, et cetera. And he has not garnered the support of the American people in doing so, right? Some people supported what he did in Venezuela as far as taking down Maduro. But for the most part, people are like, why are we doing this? You literally said America first, and now you're doing all of this stuff over here. Also, people that for the first time in American history, we are not supporting the state of Israel, right? And Trump is still very adamant that we are still going to support the state of Israel. And also, Jordan, I'm glad that you mentioned that Trump scrapped the Iran nuclear deal during his first term, because I feel like I'm almost being gaslit a little bit, because I feel like people don't talk about that point enough. People just don't remember that he did that. And everything that has come from what we're dealing with now in Iran can be traced back in a lot of ways to the fact that he scrapped the Iran nuclear deal that was already in place. We already had a system in place where they weren't going to do all the things that Trump is now threatening that they're going to do. And we have to assume that he did it with some kind of foresight that this is a bargaining chip that I'm going to need to have later on in my career.
Yeah, he did that, I would argue, to create a condition like this.
Yeah.
Where he can try to coerce Iran into an aggravated environment for negotiations, blame them for negotiations not evolving or progressing, and then the Hawks win. Because the war hawks who have wanted war with Iran for decades now never liked that deal to begin with, and they wanted it out. They wanted it nuked. So what we're seeing here is Trump, with the aesthetic of peace, the board of peace, which we know to be a sham, is ultimately, being led by and egged on by the war hawks in Washington. They've already struck Iran this term. Let's not forget that. So this is something that they want, and it's critical that we get bipartisan opposition to it, and we're starting to see that form. Let's dive right into people's favorite Democrat and Republican pair. California Democrat Ro Khanna and Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie have said they will try to force a vote on the matter next week, citing the 1973 War Powers Act. A war with Iran would be catastrophic, Khanna posted on social media. Iran is a complex society of 90 million people with significant air defenses and military capabilities. Now, don't get your hopes up, because this failed with Venezuela. In January, Senate Republicans blocked a similar war powers resolution that would have required the Trump administration to obtain congressional approval before launching further military operations in Venezuela following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. And yes, for me, this just shows that obviously, what we have known, the right-wing anti-war contingent is fraudulent. That was just rhetoric. But also, there's sufficient, sadly, Democratic support for continued, persistent warmongering as well. So unless we get wide bipartisan opposition to a president unilaterally declaring war, conducting acts of war against other sovereign countries, we are always going to live in a state of forever war. I wish that we had more representation in Congress who shared our values. I don't care which party. And again, I find myself more and more appreciating what Thomas Massie is doing, knowing that he's facing potentially a tough primary challenger, and Trump is backing his opponent. Any last words before we go on to our next story?
Yeah, I mean, somebody like Thomas Massie, I probably don't agree with a lot of his normal outside of these stances, but I do respect what he's doing as a Republican, because he's one of the only Republicans who's really speaking out against Trump and this administration in any kind of real, tangible way. And he's doing so knowing that his own career is probably on the line for it. And so in my eyes, he's a much bigger person than most of the Congress people that we have, not just Republicans, but including Democrats in that statement. But Trump has been setting some really strange and dangerous precedents since he's been in office, especially this term, especially now that he has been so emboldened by his first term when he got away with so much stuff. And now he has reinforced a lot of the checks and balances that would have stood in his way. He has put all of his Trump sycophants and all of his loyalists into very strategic positions across our government and across our judicial system. And so even when we were talking about how the Supreme Court finally ruled that his tariffs were illegal, it took a year for that to happen, and so much damage happened within that year. So even if he does that, I'll just act now and ask for forgiveness instead of asking for permission kind of thing, so much damage is being done while all these other legal avenues have to get their stuff together, or congressional avenues have to find a way to fight against it, which is much more difficult than preventing something from happening in the first place.
With the cost of everything going up, here at TYT, we're always trying to help you guys out and save you some money. Your cell phone bill is the last place you should be getting ripped off, but if you're with Verizon or AT&T, chances are you're way overpaying for the plan you're on. That's why TYT is teaming up with Noble Mobile, the only cell phone plan that pays you to use your phone less. With their Noble plan, get unlimited data for only $50 a month. But the real game changer is the cash back you get for your unused data. The less data you use, the more cash back you get. It's a win-win. Stop letting big wireless rip you off. Choose a company that aligns with your values and isn't trying to milk you for every last cent. And by switching to Noble, you're directly supporting TYT in our mission of bringing you honest, independent news. So give Noble a try and make the switch today. Scan the QR code on the screen now or visit go.tyt.com/plan. That's go.tyt.com/plan.